Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on ABC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso. It's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew: Keith Johnson.
Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Not in the show, but applies.
And Veronica Dashel.
Hi.
And Alan couldn't join us this week. He's on an away mission, but we may have a transmission from him later on. Already, we have a comment from Matt Sweatman that says, "Happy EST Day, all."
Hey, Matt.
I think that should be a federal holiday.
Yes.
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday.
We all get off work.
So we can have time to watch Star Trek multiple times.
And another early comment in from Jared Cooper that says, "I nominate Tig Notaro as MVP for this week's episode."
Heck yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, we will. Well, first, I got a little bit of news. Did you guys hear about William Shatner taking an injury?
Had not.
No.
Yeah, apparently he was riding a horse. You know, he does a lot of the horse riding. He shows horses and things like that.
Right.
During a ride, he was thrown from the horse, and his quote was, "I'm riding it and I'm ready, and she goes too fast and sends it flying. I'm not a young stuntman anymore. I started to roll but hit the dirt with my shoulder, so I wrecked my shoulder." So yeah, I think he's due for a surgery on Wednesday, which is today, after injuring his shoulder.
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday was Wednesday. You're right. So I guess it was late last year this happened. I'm just now hearing about it, but the surgery, I think, was this past Wednesday. So
Same here.
yeah, best of luck for a speedy recovery, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he was thrown from a horse plenty of times as an actor in the 50s and 60s, but you know, he's 94 years old now. So
yeah,
we wish.
You know, he has tinnitus from the Arena episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that.
And he even said it was. I have it myself, but it was so bad for him. He said he was suicidal at one point in his
Wow.
life. Yeah, it's there. Like as I'm talking to you now, if I think about it, I can hear it's a constant high pitched whine.
Wow.
And I can imagine it drove him crazy. That was in the days when actors did their own stunts, other than Tom Cruise. Nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, there were certainly stuntmen as well, but yeah, if you wanted them anywhere near the camera, then it had to be the actor, right? Because I mean, and now especially with modern displays, you can definitely see the difference in regular actors, right? I mean, it was less of an issue when you had a 19-inch screen,
right?
The picture off rabbit ears, but yeah, I mean, but you know, we're all hoping for Shatner to have a speedy recovery. Early comment here from Jared Cooper that says, "On the Star Trek cruise, Shatner subjected us / provided us with a rendition of Rocket Man Live." And we had a comment from Tiger Blade 2002, which says, "Hello, everyone."
Hi,
What's
Wayne.
up, Wayne?
All right, Keith, we have some This Week in Trek this week.
Yeah. Before I do that real quick, Jared, I have a question. Is Rocket Man any worse than Leonard Nimoy's Bilbo Baggins ballad? Which would you choose?
Bilbo Baggins every single time.
You choose it?
I enjoy both.
All right, let's jump into this real quick. So we got a finale show to talk about. 8th of March, 1966. This is kind of cool. Gene Roddenberry held a screening of his pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before, at Desilu Studios. This was, however, for writers who had been tapped as advisors and who would go on to become some of the writers for the show, including Richard Matheson. I can only imagine what that showing must have been like in 1966.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. I'd love to have been in that room.
Yeah, something like that. 8th of March, 1968. This is a personal favorite of mine. I actually even wrote about the character from this in our book. This was the airing of, you got to go back 60 years. This is a big freaking deal. The Ultimate Computer.
Okay.
The M5. Richard Daystrom. It's gotten better, but to this day, it still makes me tear up. A black man not portrayed as a pimp, a silly servant, but a guy spoken of in the same light as Einstein and Newton. And even though he went kind of cuckoo at the end, it was a respectable kind of losing it, because far into the future, they still talk about the Daystrom Institute and his influence. Love that episode.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I think a very three-dimensional character, right?
Yeah.
Like he was certainly spoken of with reverence, and
Right.
but not put on a pedestal, right? Because they still leaned into his flaws. You know,
Right.
he had both.
Yeah, really, really a good one. The 9th of March 2005 was the final day of shooting. You'll love this, Charles. These Are the Voyages.
Okay. Wow.
Also considered the worst finale in history.
Yeah, it's up there. It
Yeah, it's one of-
didn't do the show justice, which is
No.
a cardinal sin.
Not at all. These are iconic things. So I got to run through this. Also on the 9th of March, 1967 was the premiere of Devil in the Dark.
Okay.
Cited from many as one of the absolutely classic essential Star Trek episodes because of its scenes.
I know that one.
And this is interesting. The show that some said kind of killed the movies for a while. I'm not going to say it did, but Nemesis finished filming after 65 days, 2 days over on March 9th, 2002. Did not do well at all at the box office.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Matter of fact, I like it. It's fine. It's not great, but
I'm not wild about it myself.
Really? Okay, let's see.
It's funny the two things you've got on the list this week. One killed the TV franchise for about a decade, and one killed the film franchise for several years.
Isn't that amazing? And 60 years later, we're back.
Right.
Okay. One more. No, a couple more. On the 12th of March, 1975, this was wild. I don't remember this. I was around. Gene Roddenberry signed the deal with Paramount Pictures to produce Star Trek film.
Okay.
1975.
There we go.
Of course, Charles, I know you know the history probably better than any of us about the Phase 2 and all the stuff that was supposed to take place with the series. And then there's talk about a movie. And then, of course, Star Wars just made everybody want to do a space movie and blah, blah, blah. All that helped.
Yeah, they had quite a developmental process to get to the motion picture with Planet of the Titans. And like you said, Phase 2 before they landed on the motion picture.
Right. And two more and we're done. 14th of March, 1969, talking about finales. The next to last episode, which some people say should have been the finale of the original series aired, that was All Our Yesterdays.
It definitely would have been a stronger ending.
Yeah. You remember that one, Veronica?
Probably.
That's the one
title sounds familiar.
Yeah.
We met Zarabeth at Monsterama this year. I got my photo taken with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, and the last one, you can't surprise people sometimes with stuff you're going to say, so you just have to go ahead and say this. 11th of March, 1964 was the monumental day. And again, you can't surprise anybody saying on that. On that day, well, I was almost born in a cab because they took my mom to a hospital and they didn't. Oh, sorry, wrong one. The other monumental occurs on 11th of March, 1964. Gene Roddenberry sat down to a typewriter and then presented a draft of a new series called his paper was called Star Trek Is. And this was where he sat down for the first time and put on paper the concept of the show. And he actually typed the time is somewhere in the future. It could be 1995 or maybe even 2995. Close enough to our own time for continuing characters to be identifiable, but far enough into the future for galaxy travel to be thoroughly established. And I find this interesting. Also, happily eliminating the need to encumber our stories with tiresome scientific explanation. In other words, no technobabble. Right. 62 years ago this week. And nobody associated with that show knew this was going to last. Just amazing.
And they didn't know how much of our lives we would spend talking about those scientific explanations. They said not necessary.
Yeah, stay tuned. Talking about science. I got some.
Well, I think you left one out. There was a big monumental event that we're celebrating this week. Keith, your birthday. Just passed us.
Kushli stuck, Josh.
Yep.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday.
That was my in the cab reference.
I know.
Yeah. I really was almost born in a cab. That's a whole other story.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's catch up with some comments.
Cool.
So Matt says he would have loved to have seen Shatner do Rocket Man live.
Oh.
Jared Cooper said Bilbo Baggins every day, all day. Holly Jordan says currently recovering from a shoulder surgery. It's rough. Feel better, Captain. And we hope you feel better, Holly. Our friend Bill Lamont says, sorry, I'm a little late.
Hi, Bill.
And that he's going to have to leave us early tonight. Well, good luck with your family Zoom.
I don't know if you must.
Matt Sweatman says, Nemesis is that movie I don't hate, but it yet may be the most forgettable of all Trek films. I don't know, because I've tried to forget it and haven't been able to.
I would say the Star Trek 5.
And then he commented that it was Marietta. He actually called her Marietta Hartley and then corrected himself to Mariette Hartley. And Elaine says, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And then Bill says, I guess Alan is okay, just can't be here. Yep, Alan is having a great time somewhere, but yeah, he couldn't join us tonight. So yeah, tonight we're talking about Rubincon, the series, the season finale. I almost called it the series finale, the season finale of Starfleet Academy. So spoilers for Rubincon. And at first, I thought this episode was going to be called Rubicon, and I was like, they just had a Discovery episode called Rubicon like 2 years ago. No, it turns out it was something slightly different. Well, what do we think? We got to the end of the season.
Veronica, what did you think?
I mean, I wasn't like blown away with this episode, but it was a good episode. I enjoyed it more than the one recently that none of us seem to be a huge fan of.
Strange New World Season 3?
No.
Section 31?
No, the Starfleet Academy.
The one where Caleb and Genesis are lying around in the wedding on the desert planet for some reason.
I liked it better than that one, but it was
the one with boring amok time.
Yeah.
Yes, this ranked above that, but not in the top of them. So it was fine. It was good.
Okay.
Did not happen. The stuff with his mom did not happen that we had predicted, which I was very glad of. So, yay, happy ending.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a strong ending. It had some pew pew, but it wasn't as pew pew as I kind of anticipated, and it avoided a lot of what I feel like are mistakes they've made in some of the previous finales. I mean, for one, that Nustopher Braka survives in the end to hopefully menace them another day. But also, I mean, a lot of our guesses over the course of the season turned out to be wrong. Like his mother wasn't secretly a villain. What else were we guessing not long ago? There was something else I was thinking of. I was like, wait, we were way off about that.
That she was, well, the whole thing with his mom, there was some thought that basically online, everybody was thinking she was the weapons master behind all the stuff.
Something like that. And that
turned out to be the case.
Yeah. Right. And Discovery didn't show up at the end and save the day.
They mentioned it, but they couldn't.
Yeah, there was a little cameo, but there was no like big Riker moment, where Burnham Spore drives in and like they left it up to our crew, right? I think that was a strong choice.
Right.
And I think what I really like about the show is that they've really invested in some really strong actors. Like I think that sci-fi shows are, I mean, this isn't kind of a dumb thing to say, but they're really elevated when you have like a real like heavy hitter actor in there, like a Patrick Stewart. I just blanked on the actor I was thinking of his name. But in this show, I think Holly Hunter, Paul Giamatti, Tatiana Maslany, they're really strong actors, and I think that leaning into that really helps the show.
Right, agreed.
What do you think, Keith?
I'm kind of along with Veronica said. I thought it was good. It wasn't great. We'll get to the monologuing and the emotional moments, which were a little heavy. Yeah. I think the finale exemplified the show. I have nitpicks, but I don't have anything where I go, man, this show sucks. Right. And I think overall, the series, this season is still, I try to go into everything with no expectations, everything. It was better than I thought, however.
Sure.
Things I nitpicked, but it was still good. And I thought it was stronger for the last 5 or 10 minutes than some of the other stuff.
Okay. I think they did a good job over the course of the finale of paying off the emotional stories that we've been having from the characters, the arcs that have been going on over the course of the season. I thought they all brought those together well, and I just thought it was enjoyable to watch. Let's catch up with a few comments. So Jared Cooper commented, one little thing from the cruise that I wanted to share. Anything that was Starfleet Academy related was standing room only. We got an advanced screening of episode 8 with the cast, and Robert Picardo got a 5-minute standing ovation at the end.
Wow,
as he well deserves.
And that was the big one for him and Sam. That's what a great episode to watch with Robert Picardo in attendance. But I've noticed that too, like just at conventions, you get a very different reflection of the Star Trek fandom than you get if you're just on the internet. If the fans are there in person.
Yes. The fans that go in person are the ones that like the show. The ones that complain online are the complainers, and they're stupid.
All right. So Past Shelf Date says, is Nemesis the movie where I wish Data had faked his death and gone with Lore to prank the galaxy with their scary looking ship? I don't know. Data did die in that. Lore was not in it. But if you don't like that Data death, you've got several other Data deaths coming up. You can pick your favorite. Elaine Sweatman says, it was a good episode. It was good to see Reno corral the cadets, and they were all able to figure things out and get along.
Eventually.
Matt Sweatman says, Trek has mostly failed in trying to create another Khan-like villain. but Nustopher is one of the better attempts. And Past Shelf Date says, is Rubincon a typo, or is Trek going in for questionable ethnic humor? No questionable ethnic humor, but the title is Rubincon, and it's explained in the episode why it's called that.
Right.
Oh, one more. Hang on. Elaine says, Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. So, Abby, what do we think about Paul Giamatti? Now that we've seen him in his basically arc, if the show doesn't come back for season 3, this might be all we ever get of Nustopher Braka.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I enjoyed him.
Okay.
I think he had just enough screen time this episode, and throughout the series, where he was a presence throughout the series for the most part, but he wasn't present, which I thought was good. And I liked how things got flipped for him at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I've kind of enjoyed his arc over the course of the season. Like when he first was introduced, he was just sort of came across to me as a pirate, and then his second episode sort of started off, he was more of like a Quark kind of a guy, like he's worried about losing money at his shipping lane or whatever, but then sort of had that turn where you find that he's a bigger threat to the galaxy than what you may have thought. And then this episode sort of brought it all the way around, and you sort of get an idea of his backstory and him having to face that his own perception of his backstory was maybe not correct. Maybe he's his whole, evil, or I guess that he didn't see it as evil, but his whole take on the galaxy may be wrong. They were all just people living through difficult times. I kind of liked the whole him putting the Federation on trial. I didn't really expect that. And I even kind of like that they had like a news ticker going on. That's something that I think is very relevant. I get a little annoyed that the 32nd century is so much like the 21st century. But in this case, I think the satirical element, I think, worked for me. I still don't care much for the modern idioms and references and things like that.
Same here. Yeah. There was one thing he said that was modern that was kind of irritating to me. The revolution is going to be televised.
Right. Yeah, for whatever reason, the 32nd century is inundated with modern day culture. Somehow there must be hollows of the 21st century that became popular during the burn, and that's all people had left because people are all about 21st century across the world.
Yeah.
We had a comment from Alan Seiler. Welcome to the show,
Hey.
Alan. It says, news captions was a great touch.
Yes.
Jared Cooper says, Nustopher Braka is a good wannabe Khan, but he is no Kai Wynn.
True.
I
already got that one.
And then Past Shelf Date says, someday I may get past the paywall. And keep an eye out. Sometimes you can get like a free trial and things like that. And these seasons are so short, you could probably sign up for a free trial, binge watch the whole show, and then discontinue your thing and wait for the next free trial for the next season.
You can binge these seasons in like 2 days if you sit down.
Yep.
Even after work, like 5 hours.
And then Alan comments, I'm here. I'm just not able to be on the show.
Okay.
Yep. Well, thank you for showing up and supporting us, Alan. We appreciate that.
Yeah. It's funny. I really didn't like the trial.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you why. If it had been a trial in a closed room with a few people, it would have made sense. The galaxy-wide trial, like a WWE thing, kind of didn't work for me.
Okay.
Just for me. But if he had just had her in a room with a couple of people, I think that was one thing. I thought it was awfully convenient that he sees Caleb's mom and then said he's going to let her be the jury, which was real weird. I mean, because that was really convenient. And I think for those who thought she was evil, were expecting at some point that it was going to be revealed that they had a little thing going on. But it turns out, no, he really did think she was dead.
Okay.
So the galaxy-wide aspect of the trial was a little hackneyed to me, but the actual trial was fine.
Yeah.
And to do the one quick science thing, I think I heard this right. They missed something here. Unless the Federation is really tiny, Admiral Vance said the mines were covering 80,000 cubic light years of space. Mm-hmm. You do the math on that, and that's a cube that's like 40 light years on the side, or it's a sphere that's only 25 light years wide. Mm. At TNG era travel, that's less than 2 weeks travel.
Right.
I mean, the Federation can't be that incredibly small.
I know it. Yeah, I know
it might be now.
I know it's smaller than it was. I would imagine it's larger than 25 light years across.
Yeah, because that's nothing.
Yeah. But I did like they did comment that one of those particles would cover like a sector or something, and there's only hundreds of mines, which makes the whole mining element. I guess I sort of knew that already, I guess, but you still have the sort of the visual of like the mining the mines, where you can like the minefield and the wormhole we talked about last time, where you can see the mines, and that would be more absurd. I think this is still absurd, but they mitigated it a little bit, I thought.
And every time I want to do my thing, which is complain about the new Star Trek shows and their scientific inaccuracy, I reminded myself, well, hell, this came up in Voyager, so they started this one, so I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's true. No, I kind of like the show trial aspect. I didn't mind that. And really just a chance to have Paul Giamatti, Holly Hunter, and Tatiana Maslany just acting against each other.
Yeah.
Great, I think. And I'm just always blown away by Holly Hunter's just face acting.
Absolutely.
I can't act as well with my whole body. She can act with just her face.
She is really good. The one thing I did like, and it absolutely was realistic and relevant in today's time, is propaganda. Like you were, Alan mentioned, and we were talking about the news feed. And let's face it, it's going on right now. Pick your conflict. Yeah. And frankly, the United States is not immune to that kind of propaganda now. But some of the things I loved it kept crawling on the bottom. It says News Braka hailed as hero. And then it was followed by News Braka, hero or tyrant, like some real bad. And then the other one they said was hilarious. They said News Braka has captured the Athena, the gaudy treasure of the pompous Federation. And then the one I really love, which this is so familiar to all of us. They kept talking about all these Federation planets were fleeing the Federation for the liberation of News Braka. And they were just acting like the whole galaxy was celebrating, which is absolute BS, but so realistic to do that.
Well, it had a very much like a state, like a state news propaganda feel to it.
Yep.
Which I know they make these quite a ways in advance, right? There's a long turnaround time on these shows. So the fact that we're going through, we've got a situation now where our social media and our news networks are being bought up by millionaires. Yep. One of which has bought Paramount Plus since this episode was written and shot, and there's a lot of concern about them now taking over CNN with that Warner Brothers acquisition, right? And we've already seen what they've done to CBS News, and now it's just surprisingly timely. You know what I mean? I think they really landed that one, and that worked for me. Let's talk about the Doctor a little bit. The Doctor had some scenes in this.
Yeah, he did.
We finally got an answer. He still has his grungy old mobile emitter that he's had for like 800 and something years.
He doesn't seem to function off of it now, but he can like function. I don't know.
You don't think he's
not primarily because he took it out.
Well, it was still there.
Yeah, I think
True,
he was still
touching it. Yeah,
and then they made a point of they had the visual effects indicate like he's projecting from it and going into it, and that's right. I think he's wised up now and puts it inside his jacket instead of on his arm, so no one will smack it off. I thought the hologram thing was clever. Of course, here I go. I had to nitpick. There's no way that a hologram could fool sensors, but hey, it's fine. Okay. Yeah, but holodeck technology is kind of
magical
anyway, right? I mean, anything can happen in a holodeck. No, I kind of liked that resolution. I was surprised that I guess it's the 32nd century thing where like the console has to like absorb his emitter instead of on the old days they would just transfer him to and from the emitter into the computer.
Right.
I kind of like the holodeck thing. I mean, you're right. Like the shockwave, like a holographic shockwave is kind of they would notice the shockwave dissipates a little earlier than it probably ought to, But I thought it was a good enough ploy. I guess when he made it to the 29th century, he couldn't just swap out for another. He still has it, maybe he just likes his same old.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Yeah.
He's had that thing forever. I guess once you've been using it for 600 years or so, like, no, I'm sticking with what works. Or maybe he's made modifications to it over the years and didn't want to upgrade.
Yeah. I think Alan had mentioned this too. I think the most egregious little nitpick I have is they went back to that stupid increase the pressure in the airlock and nobody can find you, which is literally, I'm stunned. That literally makes no sense at all scientifically. That was just weird. But hey.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you there. All right, so let's catch up with some comments real quick. Matt Sweatman says, seeing Alan's comments, I have Queen's Now I'm Here going through my head. Jared Cooper says, also keep an eye on Pluto TV for random Paramount Plus Trek episodes and marathons. That's true. They started sliding some Discovery episodes in on the Voyager channel just recently.
Yeah, Jared, I've seen a lot recently. People complain that Pluto is not broadcasting stuff sequentially. However, they'll show one and then skip to something else. People have been complaining about that.
I think there's a rotation. True. Usually when we have it on, it'll play through in a row. But I think probably if you watch it all day, you're going to hit the start of that rotation again. I don't think they play 24 of them in a row and then continue to the next day.
Got it.
Elaine says holodeck technology is timey-wimey.
True.
Wayne says, now show me those pretty streaks of light. The best go to warp phrase ever. And it works too because they didn't make a big point about it being a catchphrase. They started leaning into that over the last several shows, and that annoys me to know.
Me too. Same here.
Matt Swetman says at this point, the Doctor's emitter is practically part of him, and parting with it might be almost emotional.
Yeah.
Totally. But I'm glad we got an explanation for that. So that was sort of some of my questions over the course of the season was how do they have emitters? What's going on with that? We've seen both of their emitters now. And so I feel satisfied about that. I was a little unclear on how the Doctor went into the computer and then came out garbled and with the solution to the problem. Was there anything that I didn't catch?
Not at all. They didn't say anything about it. The only thing I could even halfway figure, which shouldn't work, is it looks like his emitter physically dissolved into, like you were saying, they didn't just plug it into a slot. It seems like the matter, what do they call it? The programmable matter, literally almost broke it down, almost like a transporter. So maybe it just did a bad job putting it back together. That's the only thing I could think of because they didn't explain it at all.
Yeah, the closest I can come is maybe because he was part of the computer for a minute. So maybe he's had access to all this data and noticed something that the computer didn't just spit out and tell them. But I thought that was, his scenes were cute where he was talking in code and they had to figure out what he was saying. He had kind of a Babel thing going on for a minute and it was entertaining. Now on old Star Trek, that would have been the whole episode. Either an A plot or a B plot, But I thought it worked fine as far as just being entertaining to watch. I didn't really catch where he got that information from or why he came out so garbled. Maybe another line there may have helped me. Matt Swetman says, I would have liked if they linked the Doctor's glitches to Sam's glitches earlier this season. True. I agree with that. Now that we're talking about Sam, let's talk about Sam. What do we think of Sam 2.0 in this episode?
I like her, but me personally, I thought the couple of moments of confession took me out of the show a little bit. It was just a weird time for her and Genesis to have their come to Jesus moment. It felt a little bit like Discovery having the heart-to-heart in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah, they were in a little bit of a downtime, I think, as the ship was flying around slowly before, like regrouping before the act. On Discovery, it would have been while someone was firing quantum torpedoes at the ship, right? Or they're trying to escape from a black hole. So I don't think it was quite as egregious as Discovery, but you're right.
It just took me out of the show, and I like emotional stuff, but it just for me, it felt a little awkward.
What did you think, Veronica?
Sorry, I was reading comments. I got lost. What are we talking about?
Sam 2.0. How do you like Sam 2.0 as of this episode? Okay.
She's a little too angry.
A little more cynical.
And I feel like I said something to you after the show last week that I meant to say on the show, and I forgot what it was. It was very insightful about Sam's character and about how she maybe wanted to have her own room because she grew up without other people around her. Now she doesn't like people anymore.
Okay.
That seemed to be a thing. Yeah. But near the end of the episode, she seemed to get more Sam-like. She got very, very excited and hugged Reno. And then after she made sure her dad was okay on the bridge, she was like, all right, I'm going to go see my friends. And she went to her friends. And I was like, there's Sam.
And I think that's why the scene didn't work for me, Veronica, because it was like a 30-second heart-to-heart with Genesis, and all of a sudden she was cured of whatever she was dealing with. It just felt it didn't work for me.
Okay.
Kind of quick fix there. It's like, I love you. I have all faith in you. Okay. Everything's okay. It didn't work for me.
Yeah. I do like Sam's story. I liked her. I like Sam 1.0 and I like Sam 2.0. I'm intrigued. The whole flipper, the switcheroo they pulled in the middle of the season, or I guess late in the season, works for me with and I like that there's still like real consequences, a real effect on the show of the fact that they spent that 17 years, and like we talked about this in that episode, but in the 90s shows, like it would have already been forgotten.
Yeah,
you never mention it again. And I guess if I had to hang out with Robert Picardo for 17 years on that Atrium set, I'd probably be cynical too.
Yes.
right. So Jared Cooper says, I'm just shocked they managed to keep Caleb's clothes on. And I'll say, if I look like Caleb, I would not keep my clothes on. Bill says, wait, what? I just realized now there's another sci-fi character who's properly the Doctor. Now do we have to have them meet, have a thumb war to decide who gets the title this month?
So when I first read that, I thought he was confusing the fact that the Doctor in Starfleet Academy is different from the Doctor in Voyager. But then I realized he's talking about the Doctor from Doctor Who. So that makes more sense.
Holly Jordan says, I loved that they gave Jaden more moments where we see him as a pre-med, but I still feel he was underutilized in this episode.
Yes.
He's been underutilized throughout the season, I think.
Yeah.
And they shift him off in the background a lot or just cut him out of the episode. And they kind of hinted a couple of times this season. He's very atypical for a Klingon, the Klingons that we would expect, but he still has the potential to Klingon out. You know, that in that one episode, he grabbed a boulder and was ready to charge in there and fight the fish people for his buddy. So I kind of expected if they got boarded or something that we'd see him go full Klingon. I do like that we got to see him doing more medical stuff, even though the medical stuff he was doing was on a hologram.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't actually medical.
Typically they'd have like B'Elanna.
Yes.
I guess probably because he was the Doctor on the show, but you still think that'd be more the purview of an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Tom Paris taking care of the Doctor
right
and his mobile emitter.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I like Jaden. I like to see
Same
more of him. I do agree that he's been underutilized. Speaking of underutilized, Laura Thok was in, like, she was the character from the first preview, and I was like, this is gonna be my favorite character on the show. I can't wait for this. Half Klingon, half Jem'Hadar lady. She's the cadet master, and she's gruff, and she's in like half of the show, and then she's gone for several episodes. And this one, she just showed up and just sort of stood around. I want more Laura Thok. And also, I commented a few episodes ago that that Ake referred to her as Commander Laura. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. She's referring to her as Commander Laura instead of Commander Thok. And then this week, she called her Commander Thok. So I don't know what the Thok is.
Oh, so it's not like they're not consistent.
Did you just say, I don't know what the Thok is going on?
Exactly right. All right. Jared Cooper says, I need some M/M romance writer to write me an angsty Starfleeted rivalry novel on the relationship with Jaden and Kyle.
Here.
I think if you Google that, you're going to find something.
I'm sure.
Past Shelf Date says, my family are a little late. Well, thank you for letting us know. Elaine says, both Jaden and Laura Thok were both underutilized.
Yes.
I agree. Alan says, I was surprised how little Thok was in this episode. I expected more of her somehow for the final week. Agreed. And I think Gina Yashere is a big asset on the show, and I hope we get more of her next season than we got this season, because I like that character a lot. Speaking of characters I like a lot, I think this is Jet Reno's best episode in Star Trek.
Yes.
I think she was fantastic this week.
Agreed. She worked as a commander, and I thought it was kind of interesting how she kept couching it as an instructor still to cadets. I thought that was pretty cool, and I did like when she mentioned to Darren that she crashed one or two shuttles, the first 2 or 3 shuttles that she ever piloted, which I thought was kind of cool.
And she reminded us again that she's lived in 2 very different time periods. I thought she was just great across the board. She was great as a commanding officer. I kind of like that when he called her captain, she's like, nope, I'm not a captain.
Not the captain.
Yeah,
right. Although I think he's right as far as the tradition goes. If you're in command, then you can be called captain. But I liked her a lot. But I guess she's sort of keeping it kind of working class. Like she doesn't like I'm not a captain.
Yeah, and it's wild for somebody as liberal as I am to say this, but I've commented every now and then that some of the new Trek, in my opinion, gets a little bit too far away from being a military, which I still say it is, at least at part. I like it when one point she said basically, what do we say? And she basically made them say I, which is kind of cool. Sometimes they're like, okay, they're like, I, Commander. So I kind of like that. I thought that was kind of cool. And did I see a genuine smile from Jet Reno at the end of the show? Like, you remember when they succeeded? Not just a half smile. She genuinely smiled, and I'm like, good. Wow, that was kind of interesting.
All right. Cool. Well, we're just over the halfway point.
Okay, cool.
Talking. So let's take a quick break for about 30 seconds, and when we come back, we will get back into Rubincon. So stay right there. Now, we had a voicemail on the Earth Station Trek hotline.
Cool.
And for anyone who's never called in before, you can. Veronica, what's the phone number?
307-387-1701.
That's right. If you dial 307-387-1701, you'll get. No one was going to answer. I know people get anxious these days about talking on the phone. Anyone younger than me. No one's going to answer. It's just a cute little message from Veronica you get to hear, and you can leave a voicemail like this one.
Hey, this is Alan. I'm on vacation in the Gamma Quadrant, but I did get the chance to see the finale episode of Starfleet Academy. So here's my review. Overall, I thought it was a bit talky, and I'm sure there were scenes that could have picked up the pace a bit, but one of the things is it committed the modern Trek sin of having characters stop in the middle of a crisis to have long conversations. Luckily, there wasn't anything here that was nearly as bad as some of the scenes in Disco, but it still dragged in places. Speaking of Disco, no Discovery showed up, and, that's okay. I'm fine with that. On one hand, I was kind of thinking that this was definitely going to happen, but I was also thinking Sonequa is a very busy lady, and I'm sure it would be hard for them to get her, even though it would have been really cool to see her. But at the same time, I really like that this episode drilled down to focusing just on the immediate main cast. I like that this cast was shown to be self-sufficient and problem solvers who can think their way out of a crisis. And they don't need no outside help. So because of that, I was okay with Discovery not showing up. My favorite aspect of this episode, though, was Jet Reno. She used this emergency situation as a classroom and continued teaching the cadets all the way through the middle of this crisis. She treated them like officers and expected them to step up, but she also remembered that they're still students and needed guidance. I like that she gave them all specific tasks and treated them and trusted them to complete those tasks. So Reno is by far my VIP of this episode. I thought that she was fantastic in this one. From what I understand, Paul Giamatti has said that Braka is not going to be in season 2, but may be back for season 3. I'm pretty okay with that. I think that this story ended well for him. This is a nice open ending for him. So season 1, he's a big bad. He gets busted at the end and gets thrown in jail. Devote season 2 to some different situation, and then have Braka bust out of jail and be even more dangerous threat in season 3. I think that makes a lot of sense. And maybe even team up with somebody else. Who knows? Maybe somebody's, there to help him bust out of jail. I don't know. Overall, though, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it provided a really nice bookend for the season. I thought that Caleb's storyline with his mother wrapped up really well. I really liked how all of the main cadet characters kind of ended the season in a good place where they're bonded in a whole new way. And I just love that they're all best friends.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you, Alan, for sending that in. If you want to be cool like Alan, you can dial 307-387-1701, and we may play your voicemail on the show. You got some comments you want to go through, Veronica?
Yeah.
All right. You want to pick one?
I was trying to
pick one quick.
Where were we at? I don't remember where we were at. Here you go.
Don't know how to drive.
I was trying to scroll up.
Grab the wheel.
Yeah, it's easy to figure out where you were last at.
Because you moved it all around.
I scrolled back up to see where we were last at.
All right. So Holly Jordan said, I loved how much time we got with Reno. She still found teachable moments while leading them when necessary.
Yeah.
Matt Sweatman says, I do think that Jet Reno was a surprise MVP of this cast of characters. Not that she's great, but that she was used so well this season.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Cooper says, Reno making sure to make every moment a teaching moment for the cadets was a good touch.
That was true.
Matt Sweatman says, Reno is the closest we've gotten to Dr. McCoy in a long while. Wayne says, when you sit in that center seat, you were referred to as captain. True, typically. Although I remember when like Tom Paris or Harry Kim tried to refer to Janeway as sir, and she said she don't like that. So I guess you still have a little bit of choice there in Starfleet about the protocols.
Yeah.
Elaine says, I get anxious about talking on the phone, and I'm older than you.
Ha!
Elaine also says, Sonequa is busy with Donnie Wahlberg in Boston Blue. Jared Cooper says, something you will appreciate. My fiance lives in Bogota, Colombia. When our relationship was still new, one of the signs that told me it was a relationship worth pursuing was that Google Earth showed us that our houses are 1,701 miles apart. Elaine says, Braka is going to be the con for a cat. Jared Cooper says, also in Colombia, Star Trek is known as Viaje a las Estrellas, and the voice actors are at the opening credits. And Alan says, damn, talk about being talky. That guy wouldn't shut up.
It was only 3 minutes. That wasn't that long to summarize the entire episode.
No, but I appreciate you calling in, Alan.
Yes.
Alan said something interesting. Well, one, I agree. He and I agreed with some of the talking moments, but they weren't egregious. But when Alan, we mentioned about the whole thing with Nustopher Braka, one of the most interesting things when you see about antagonists is when their worldview and their reason for being what they are is shattered. What did they become? Sometimes they're like, well, I still hate you anyway, because now they're just holding on to the anger. It's kind of like, remember when Picard was talking to O'Brien about his old Commander Maxwell, who hated the Cardassians, and Picard said, when a man's been angry for a long time, it becomes comfortable to him, like old leather, and in time, it doesn't even matter why he was angry in the first place. And actually, is Nustopher Braka going to basically renounce his entire life of piracy and devilry and say, oh, I was wrong? So it'll be very interesting to see what's going on. One thing I was going to say, Charles, I didn't like the trial, but one reason, if it were a little smaller in scale, I'd like it. One thing I did like about it that did work, however, even though they busted his hypothesis, was the fact that at the end of the day, Nustopher Braka, for all the galaxy level stuff he was doing, was a poor man from a poor planet who was hungry and frightened, and he was carrying that hatred through. Now, what he has become is horrible, but at the end of the day, he was somebody who was starving and afraid and watched his father and his family and friends die and stuff. I get that. That was an okay motivation, actually. I get that.
Yeah, I thought that was good. And I mean, and Ake made the point that they're all living through these difficult times and everyone's making difficult choices. And I really liked that Ake brought it back around to that guy that died on the shuttle. Like they mentioned in the first episode that the reason they were on trial in the first place is that Starfleet officer died. But she really like humanizes that character. And like, no, like, yes, it was a bad situation. And yes, maybe the way it was handled wasn't great, but you guys were on trial in the first place because this person died, you know?
Yeah. And this is funny. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but a lot of people online, you know, and social media and stuff have talked about how evil, again, this is coming from a very liberal black man who does not have a whole fuzzy, warm feeling about law enforcement, overreach. But even I have to say, right or wrong, intent to or not, she wasn't committing a crime that got somebody killed. And no matter what the motivation, you go down for that. So I can't say Starfleet was actually wrong or evil in locking her up. And then you got to do something with the kid. Now that's horrible, but a man died.
Yeah. So, and I mean, his mother was holding on to this anger about, you know, her family was torn apart, and she made the point with that guy who died's family was torn apart.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, it's a bad situation for everybody. So I thought that was good.
I did too.
I was picking at them a few weeks ago about the overuse of the atrium set. You know, because the atrium set is you use it for anything. When it got to the point that they got to the weird alien planet and went inside, and it was the atrium set. And I was like, come on. Yes. So this week, I thought it actually kind of worked. I'll give it to them this week because they made a big point last week about how the atrium, we have to, you know, separate the saucer section. The atrium's in the hands of the bad guys now. And when you get back, I kind of like the it was almost like an 80s movie, like when you're going like the villain's lair where everything's like torn apart and graffitied and everything. I like that look. And I thought it was a good use of the atrium set to come back around. And if you're going to use it for everything, I thought that was a good justification for it. Like I give up. Use the atrium set for everything. If it's an alien planet again next year, I'm going to be annoyed though. All right, let's take a look at some comments real quick. Alan says, I also love that Ake and Caleb scienced out the truth. Strontium burns red. That was a cool moment. Elaine says, "Oh, but then she had to point out that Braka's dad was responsible for the destruction of the planet."
It happens.
And Matt says, "Braka was a populist, and his power was based on stoking anger and resentment. I wish in the real world, logic and reason would win out over this motivated anger, but unfortunately, it doesn't." And they hit that button pretty hard in the episode when she was like, "All he's got to sell you is hate."
Yep.
And that resonates because unfortunately, unfortunately, that's going to resonate throughout. You could drop that into any point in American history, and that's going to resonate.
Yeah.
But over the last maybe 10 years, it hits pretty hard, I think.
Yeah. And speaking of, you said anger, Kirk said, "And let that elite be your last battlefield." They didn't always have just anger, but it's all they have left now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other cadets. We got like 15 minutes left.
Wow.
How did you like sort of the way the character arcs for the cadets rounded out in this episode? We saw them sort of come together as a crew.
I thought that was good. I thought, especially Jet Reno doing it. There's a lot of people, sometimes they complain online, and it's a nitpick. They say it doesn't really feel like an academy. It's like I've listened to one guy over on Track Culture says that they're almost too perfect already. And I like to hear that they had doubts, like Durham was he was a little unsure of himself for a moment. Then Reno said this guy's going to be a great pilot. We've seen that so many times in Star Trek. Heck, even from Wesley Crusher. There was an episode of TNG. Remember the episode where they went to the planet that was basically like the used car salesman selling them weapons? And Geordi had to talk to two sub people on helm and navigation. He had to give them confidence. I thought that worked. And I do think that Jet Reno's unique delivery sold it, like a commanding officer getting these recruits confidence. And I thought that they all got a little something to do. Jaden with the helping the doctor and then sussing out what he was saying. Durham getting his confidence and basically driving well. Tarima cracking the location. I mean, some of it might be contrived, but it all
I didn't
works.
like that.
How's that?
Her tracking the location from Caleb's memories of her.
Oh, I didn't mean that one. We can talk about that. I meant the technologically tracing the control signal.
Yeah, I didn't think that she was using his memories to trace his mother. I thought she reached out telepathically and found his mother.
Did. And how
would she reach out telepathically and find his mother if she didn't have a previous connection with
she's
her?
Beta Z. She's Betazoid.
Well, I see what Veronica's saying. So does that mean that Caleb has a telepathic connection with his mother that she rode to his mom? Or can she, like, I don't know, feel her mental pattern from him and then look for it?
Yeah, because the way Deanna was able to find Riker and Picard at the end of Picard season 3 was because she had a connection, not just with Picard, but especially with Riker.
Yeah, but Deanna is half Beta Z and empathic, and Tarima's got super Beta Z powers where she has to wear a thing. So she used her super Beta Z powers to superpower where the mom was.
Yeah, Veronica, I see what you're saying, because Tarima doesn't have a direct connection with his mom. So the only way that makes sense is she literally read like a frequency of his mom's mind, and then she looked for it in the galaxy, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. Otherwise it would imply Caleb and his mom have a telepathic connection. We're getting real deep in this, but I thought that as well, Veronica, so I agree with you.
Okay.
Y'all see look at Veronica's face. She's like, I ain't buying it for a minute.
She didn't like that. Well, how about this? Alan commented, Genesis got to take the con.
Yes, I did like that.
And Elaine commented, I love that Genesis got a chance to sit in the chair.
Yep.
Okay, who wrote that stupid line, though?
No, we're not going to say that yet.
I'm not going to say it, but who wrote that line?
I don't know, but that joke did not land.
No.
Not at all. Wow.
Not even a little bit. Sorry.
Holly Jordan says, I can't wait to see Durham come into his pilot role. It's going to be fun. I agree. I've liked the arc of him. He was coming in dead set on being the captain and found out he's kind of crap at that, but now seems to be finding his new role as a helm officer.
Right.
You know, and not everyone has to be the captain. I can see a lot of people come to the academy thinking I'm going to be the captain. But not everyone can be the captain. You can't have 7 captains of a ship, right? You got to have like the best of the best becomes the captain. Matt Sweatman commented, did you guys hear that one site actually is recruiting reviewers that hate Academy? Yep. There was
I did not hear that.
It was a LinkedIn post from actually a pretty well-known
on LinkedIn.
That's my understanding. And I'm not going to name the site because I don't want to promote them. It's a site that I don't like because they're all clickbait and they're hate mongering, but they were specifically recruiting writers who hate Starfleet Academy.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Holly Jordan says Waxana can speak to Riker across the galaxy to find Troy. It's beta canon from Mzadi, but I buy it.
Oh, I haven't read that.
Oh, okay, but that's different. So Waxana already had a existing relationship with Riker, and she was just talking to Riker, and she could probably find Troy across the galaxy because she's her mother. But Terima has no connection at all whatsoever to Caleb's mom.
But she's been inside Caleb's mind.
And Caleb hasn't seen her in 15 years.
He saw her earlier that day.
I agree with what Veronica's saying. I had to go past because basically it means Caleb and his mom have a telepathic connection, which they can't because they're not telepaths. So that's the only way she could ride that connection between them. So it was a little weird, but
we've seen telepaths in Star Trek do crazier things than this.
This is true. Yeah, this is absolutely true.
I also thought her mobile emitter was supposed to be like better and not supposed to be able to be removed.
I don't know if it can't be removed. It was supposed to be improved over the last one.
Yeah. I got the impression when they were talking about it that it couldn't be removed for her own protection.
Well, we have 8 minutes left. You want to talk about Terima the rest of the time? Go right ahead.
I thought so too. But Veronica, I think in a lot of I thought, well, when she turned it off, maybe it detached. Although, Charles, maybe somebody could hit it accidentally and it falls off.
All right, well, Holly Jordan's digging her heels in and says, Terima is stronger than Waxana. I'm dying on this hill.
Okay, guys, on the series, the season wrap up next week, that's gonna come up, I bet.
And Elaine says, I get that about Terima, but she does seem to have supercharged Beta Z powers.
Okay, I'm gonna save this for next week in our Facebook page because I do have thoughts on this.
Okay.
This is great. Who knew that was gonna be the thing?
And I did like that Caleb had his arc rounded out nicely. And we had all kind of guessed that. I mean, it's sort of obvious. It's going to eventually he's going to come to the decision that he wants to be in Starfleet.
Right.
And I thought that the reunion with his mother was good. And I liked the little arc that he went through. And I liked the point that Reno made that no, like you showed me who you are when you decided to come back and help your friends. Like he wasn't going to leave them to die. And I like that he got a speech at the end, you know?
Yeah.
I love a good Star Trek speech. Matt Sweatman says, before you run out of time, I want to know your thoughts of the use of childhood photos on the cast and the closing credits. Here's the thing that I hate. That closing credit thing was stupid. For one, it says class of 3196 for every single character, including the Doctor, including Ake, including the Stephen Colbert computer voice. Also, it's got their human photos. They're not even made Star Trek-y. So it's like, Cadet Krog, and it's a picture of the actor as a child, as a human child.
Yep.
I thought that whole thing was dumb.
You know what it felt like to me? It felt like what they did at the end of the last movie for the original series cast, which was the end of the last movie for the original series cast.
Was after 25 years of them playing these characters, they were saying goodbye.
Right.
Until they come back again. And and this, I mean, for one, it had a very much a finale feel to it.
Right.
But also, I don't like the modern pop music. For me, they sort of got by with it with the San Francisco song, but this time it just didn't work for me. I didn't like the use of their real photos. I didn't like that they had class of 3196 on every single one of them. But the graphics across this show have been a little bit sloppy with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I wonder what that's all about, because you're right, they have done that a lot. I don't know if they're rushed money. They keep saying that they have way less money than people think for the show, and I don't know if money buys time.
I believe that because most everywhere they go is the atrium.
Yeah.
Oh, I already did that one. Matt also says those Letterman jackets were a little too archy for my taste. Alan Seiler says, yeah, the closing credit photos was really dumb. However, I love that Carice has clearly been an oddball all her life.
I laughed when I saw her. She was so cute. She made me laugh.
And Holly Jordan says, I loved how they skipped the intro, though. It added a sense of urgency to the story by not breaking up the episode. Is this the first Star Trek episode that had skipped the intro?
Holly, I think so. And I'm glad you called it out, because I wrote in my notes, I liked that intro. It's one of those that it kind of heightens the drama before it starts. I thought it just looked cool. It felt very dramatic. We're like,
right. And it's also kind of a Star Trek thing where, like, when the ship blows up before the opening credits and they blew up their ship, and then you have the dramatic, like, Starfleet Academy come in.
Right.
I thought it was good. I wouldn't want them to do that all the time, because that's something I don't really care for on modern shows where they just flash the title and then carry on. I like having an intro, even when it's an underwhelming intro, as I feel this show has. But no, I like that just fine. I mean, across the board, I thought this was a good resolution. This is not my favorite kind of Star Trek episode because it's very much like the end of the season and the action. But I thought I like the talky bits. I know some people find it talky, but I like when Star Trek is just good actors standing around saying interesting things to each other. You know, like I think a lot of good Star Trek episodes are that way. And so I like that they made a point of, it was way talkier, I think, than a lot of the finales have been. And I think it was stronger than maybe most every live action season finale they've done in the new era, at least.
Oh, I have another thing that was near the end, a talky bit. I really liked how Ake didn't say, "Hey, that thing is red clouds and the Federation ones are blue and green." She had Caleb's mom answered with the red, and then she had Caleb answer with what the Federation's. I thought that was brilliant because it was two people that were outside the Federation. One person was 100% outside the Federation, and one that was basically outside the Federation, only kind of in it. So I thought that was a really good move on her part.
Yeah, and I commented this season about why are their faces green. You know, like so I thought that tied in pretty well. That they used the different colored energy bolts now. Oh, any closing thoughts? We got like 3 minutes left. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, real quick. I kind of missed it because I had something at work that came in for a second. Did Nustopher Braka's father die in that thing, in that attack, that event? Did
that
they say
seems
that?
To be the implication.
That's what it sounded like.
Okay, well, that hasn't happened before in history, has it? Some scientist in a weapons lab blowing himself up or something.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought this was a strong finale. I think, we're gonna get next week. We're gonna go more into the season as a whole, sort of look back on the season as a piece. But no, I thought this was a good ending. I was satisfied with the resolution. I think it was fun and entertaining all the way through, which is, I mean, what you want. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with how Veronica stated it. I had some nitpicks, so I didn't love it, but I thought it was good. And I will say, we talked about this before, and we'll talk about this next week. They have done an absolutely excellent job of casting these actors, whether you like their stories or anything. This is some of the best casting I've seen in Star Trek in a long time.
Yeah, and a lot of these actors aren't cheap. Like the heavy hitter actors I was talking about before are not cheap actors, right?
Right.
But even people like Caleb, I've commented on his acting several times over the course of the show because he has like one IMDb credit before this show. And he's a natural.
Yeah,
he is.
Great. He's very well.
I think he's gonna have a big future.
Yeah,
it is.
And I did also like when they parked in that gas giant.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was the other thing. When the saucer was rising up from the gas giant, it totally looked like an angry face.
Oh, okay.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool. One last quick question. Wayne would have to ask this: are they getting a summer break from Academy?
That's what it seems like.
What it sounds like.
They even talked about sunscreen.
Do cadets in military get a summer break? I know they get breaks, but they get off the whole summer, like 3 months. Wayne, can you answer that? I was just curious.
You got me.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt Sweatman says next season Giamatti will play dual roles as Braka and his dad, who comes.
Please no, it's the Sung tradition.
And he says, a la Jim Carrey in Sonic 3. I haven't seen any of the Sonic movies, so I can't help you out there.
Wayne said he has no idea. I'm going to look that up. I was just curious.
And then Holly Jordan says, yeah, the military academies get summers off.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
much. His mom has really come around. Remember, because she goes, well, I hope you don't want to come back, but I know you will. So she's really come around.
Oh, Wayne comments, I was enlisted.
Okay.
I think you probably do not get summers off when you're actually in the military, but when you're in a military school, you probably get summers off.
Of course you don't get summers off when you're in the military.
Well, you know.
Everyone was just attacking the summertime. Hang on, it's almost break.
Hey, we can't go to war because everybody's on vacation.
Right.
We quit that again. Welcome August back 3rd. Or go to war.
No, I thought this was a fun episode.
It was fun, yeah.
All right, Keith, where can people find more of you?
Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups.
And how about us, Veronica?
FeltNerdy.com.
That's right. If you're in the Atlanta area, come see us this weekend. What's this show called? Pie something?
Yes. Pie Day Nerdlesque.
Okay. Is this at Red Light?
It is at Red Light, yes.
Hey, at the Red Light Cafe in Atlanta. Yes. That's on Saturday. And you can follow Felt Nerdy and Dirty across social media for our adult oriented puppetry burlesque stuff, or Felt Nerdy for our family friendly stuff. And where else people find us?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Yep. And we just put together a comprehensive schedule. We're going to start going live on Wednesdays and try to make that a thing. So join us on the Monkeying Around podcast YouTube channel. So we've got some really fun episodes coming up, including a really good interview, I think, about a new Monkeys box set that was released. So join us for that. And Holly Jordan says, and come see me at Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo.
Oh, cool.
And that's this weekend.
Hey,
I remember.
and real quick before Veronica gives her goodbye, we are going to do a season finale wrap up next week. And then, guys, we are actively talking about other shows we're doing in the upcoming weeks and months. So you got any ideas, seriously, you want us to talk about, let us know, because Charles has been compiling a list of stuff for us to talk about coming up.
Yep. We're going to get back to Legacy Trek for a while after next week. So yeah, throw any ideas at us at the Earth Station Trek Facebook group.
Yeah.
Veronica, you got a closing for us.
Yes. Okay. There is so much anger in the universe.
I thought you were going to say you had to pee. How come we couldn't say that the whole episode because you were saving it?
Okay.
Even Elaine, Elaine, I'm sorry. Elaine commented, I need to pee.
Hey, Veronica, cobble it together. There's so much anger in the universe. I need to pee.
All right. Well, join us live Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about Academy again next week for our season wrap up. And then after that, Legacy Trek topics for a while. Or you can find us after the fact on your favorite podcast platform or our YouTube channel as Earth Station Trek. Bye, everybody.